Hi and welcome to another video where I look at action packs. Today, hang on. Oh, I've got a letter here. And the letter is from Dave Barrington, and the letter says, Dear Andrew, could I please look at the Morat pack because it's new, and having that in my feed will increase the power of the YouTube algorithm. Well, why not? So today we're looking at the Morat action pack, which is released recently. Again, like previous videos, I'm going to be looking at the contents of the action pack. I'm going to make sure it is what you see is what you get. So for new players, you can basically pick it up and use models with the real weapons they have on the models. Remembering that Infinity proxying is quite common. So once you've had a play with the action pack, you probably want to change things around an awful lot and look at weapon combinations. Because I'm looking at the action pack contents alone, these lists are not optimized, so don't write me any angry emails saying it's not optimized, because I know. At the end of the video, I'll be looking at some fire team options a bit, but there's tons of Morats, and I'll be looking at how to make it 300 points, which is the sort of normal Infinity size. So, let's go. So here is the action pack. Apologies if you don't want to see my face in the corner. Apparently it helps YouTube think it's a good idea to show my videos. If you don't see my face, maybe put a mug of tea in front of your screen. Anyway, here is the Morat action pack. It is 206 points and it's 3 Swick. So looking at the models here, first of all we have the Morat Vanguard. There they are, all 3 of them, the sort of basic line troops of the Morats. Now, there they are right there. Now, these people have fairly sort of standard profiles for line troops. All Morats have veteran and Rigs troop. First of all, that means that they are not affected by loss of lieutenants at all. Also not affected by being isolated either, which is quite nice. Veteran troop means they don't want to fail guts checks. In fact, they auto pass guts checks, and if you want to fail it and go prone, they have to make a roll to fail it, if it makes sense. The Morats in the box come with combo rifles, which is pretty common for line troops there. So these people are going to be your source of cheap orders. They aren't particularly cheap compared to some line troops, but that's what you got really. So they're going to stand at the back really and probably give orders to your heavy hitters. Next we have the Dartok. Here he is pointing his palm toward the enemy like a big darn hero. He is armed with a combo rifle, a pitch and cyber mines. He's a hacker. Cyber mines are an interesting bit of kit. They effectively are able to immobilize hackers, heavy infantry, and tags and remotes. So a bit like EM, apart from they require a sort of reset roll to break out of rather than the BTS save. The Dartok here, he has quite a nice bit of kit here. First of all, he's got a hacking device and the normal hacking programs, but also he has Trinity +1 damage. So he has the good part of being a killer hacker, in terms of he can fry brains with his picture, but also he has a hacking device as well. So he has many more hacking programs than a killer hacker would have. So rather than having just Cyber Mask and Trinity as a killer hacker, he has also access to Carbonite and all the other living things that normal hackers have. 2 nice profiles here. Submachine gun picture is quite cheap, but the model's armed with a combo rifle. He's also got Dogged, which means if he gets a wound in your active turn and he really has to do a mission, he can take the wound, he will die at the end of your turn, but he can still do his thing. For example, if he really has to go and push a button and he takes a wound in doing so, he can push that button still, but he'll die at the end of the turn. But with turn 3, doesn't matter, does it? The button still stays pushed. So it's pretty good there. Next person is the Rack to Rack. There he is with his sort of yellow helmet pointing his gun. Now the Rack to Rack is right there. Here's the NCO, so he can use the Morat Vanguard's left-hand order, which is quite helpful because the chance of the Morat Vanguard won't use it. Then again, because in Morats everyone has veteran, you might want to use the Lieutenant order on the Vanguard just to be bored, because if they die, it doesn't matter too much because no Morat suffers from loss of lieutenants. Although bear in mind, if the LT dies, a new model won't be made LT until next turn, which means the NCO can't be used until then. So you've got the right track here. They have number 2, so in a fire team, they can take over if the leader's killed. They're specialist, just a flat specialist, which means they can do missions very easily. 20 total, which might be good depending upon the board you're using. OKBS has got a Vulcan shotgun, so that's a shotgun that is better than number 1. Here it is, because it has continuous damage. So if you fail an armor save against it, you carry on rolling until you pass it. So being hit by this Vulcan shotgun, for example, in hit mode, you're looking at 2 attack rolls, damn 14 AP, and you can rolling it until you fail. Until you pass, which means if you like a tag, for example, you might just die to a shotgun because you can't failing saves against the AP. Very nice. Next, we've got the Raziat. There he is. The Raziat is right here, is armed with a Spitfire, decharges, and Eclipse grenades. So the decharges are great for missions and also superb in close combat if you get that far. Eclipse grenades are mega smoke, so that's smoke that completely ignores MSV, which is fantastic. I like how is the diplomatic division, because nothing says diplomacy like falling down behind enemy zones with a machine gun and shooting them in the back. So he has parachutist deployment zone. Oh, there we go. Steady on, Jones. Steady on. Here he is. So he is superb. First of all, he can deploy as a parachutist anywhere on the board, which is pretty scary. I have fought against this guy in the past, and he's appeared in turn 3 and basically won the mission because he comes down behind me as specialist operative, for example, and does the job. Because later in the game, there's no chance you can cover all your arcs, and he will come down somewhere where you aren't, and he'll do horrible things to you. He's got martial arts level 2 and natural born warrior, so he ignores your opponent's martial arts, which means he might get the edge. Again, I wouldn't rely upon it as your first port of call because he has pretty decent guns. As I mentioned to you previously, this version has the Spitfire, which is a great gun anyway. But it's all around great troop, and I love parachute deployment zone. It really affects your opponents. Even if they're expecting him to drop down, it is scary because you have to cover their back. And if they aren't expecting him to come down, it's even better for you. Next, the Kaesot. There he is with his big sword, although like a lot of models in Infinity with big swords, he rarely uses it because he has, first of all, a submachine gun and a chain colt. He has an MSV 1. And he has BS attack T2, so he has a lovely bright green sword, but actually his melee attacks aren't much to write home about. He hasn't got martial arts, he hasn't got a CC above 20, so I wouldn't say his martial arts or CC is that great. But he has got a T2 submachine gun, so he's rolling a bunch of dice with armor piercing, because submachine guns are armor piercing, or shock I guess, and he does T2, so that means every BS hit is 2 damage. He has mimetism -3, which is quite nice. A really high BTS, which is good against him being, well, he can't be hacked that much, but good against some attacks, like viral weapons and the like. He is the only source of MSV 1 in your list, so bear that in mind. Next, we have the Kaesot, the beefy boy with select 5 with 4 arms there. So he has been armed as fitting with the description by Corvus Belly. So he's got a chain rifle +2 burst and a heavy pistol +1 burst and a flamen spear. Very cheap at 22 points, meaning he is quite low points for a arm 5 2 wound model. He is pretty tasty. He is almost exclusively armed for short range combat. Flamen spear is nice, but it's only 1 burst, so and it's disposable at that, so you aren't going to be finding that often. Having a +2 burst chain rifle and a +1 burst heavy pistol means he can go into someone's line of sight and he can give them a choice. Either they dodge, in which case you can shoot them with the heavy pistol for 3 dice because +1 burst, or if they shoot you, you can chain rifle them. And being +2 burst, you could chain rifle them 3 times, make 3 armor saves, or you could chain rifle them and their friends. So having those 2 weapons means you can kind of affect their AROs quite a lot, because if they shoot you, you can just rifle them back. And because you got +1 damage and they could be rolling 3 armor saves, the chance of them surviving is pretty low. Also, because you're shooting them probably from cover, you might be armor 8, which means you might survive their shot back. Alternatively, you've got 2 wounds anyway. Bear in mind, as soon as you kill someone, you go frenzy, which means you'll lose cover. that said, on 5 is still quite nice. So those two options really allow you to affect your opponent's AROs and do a lot of mind games. And you can do things like maybe try and chain rifle a whole linker team, that sort of thing. Although it might be that, again, if they know you can chain rifle them all, they'll probably dodge. But then you can shoot them with a pistol without any sort of attack back. So all round great, really. Also, that rifle, of course, is good in AROs, although you can't fire the 2 bursts in that. That is the wrong slide. Next, we have the Zevat. You can tell what is a hacker because he's pointing his hand forward, and all hackers seem to push the hand forward like in the Matrix or something. This one is a killer hacker, armed with a combo rifle and a light flamethrower and D-charges. So this one is pretty hard to take out because it has members -6 and infiltration. So you can put them far forward. I probably wouldn't put them in your opponent's half the board because you're looking at a -6 roll on physique. So you're looking at a passing on a physique roll of a 6, not great. But you can put them in your halfway, up to halfway in your board. And you can hopefully killer hack someone early doors. Alternatively, of course, you can use Cyber Mask to go into impersonation state and go up to them with minimal AROs and then target people. So they're quite a good scalpel to kill your opponent's hackers. Alternatively, to go and push buttons, and again, that sort of -6 hypnotism is really nice. They have tons of options too. Taking them as mine layer is quite nice because their purpose changes very much from a targeted sort of anti-hacker device to a good ball control piece. And again, that profile's got a good boarding shotgun with a -6 hypnotism means that in a face-to-face roll, they're going to have a good chance of winning that because they'll be hitting at +6 and your opponent will be hitting back at a -6 or a -9 if you're in cover. Now, fire teams. Now, this one's pretty hard because there are so many fire teams really in Morats. There's just loads of them. First of all, crucially, Morats can take 2 Harris teams and a core. And their Morat fire teams can take a very large proportion of their list in a fire team. As you can see, the Morat fire team there has Morat repeated on there more often than I've said it in this video. So you can make a fire team out of however you want. In fact, you probably want to use command tokens to change fire teams as you go along. So if the fire team breaks in Morats because of wounds or because of distance, the chances are you can make a new one and carry on going. So the chances of you getting a bonus burst, for example, or bonus BS for a core fire team is pretty good. So taking a big 5-person fire team and then recharging it with spare people is pretty easy to do because so many of them count as being Morats. So they are very versatile and their fire teams look very, very strong. I haven't got any suggested fire team builds, mainly because there's literally 4.6 billion of them. So looking next at where next, that was a well said sentence there, Andrew, well done. This is a list given to me by some really helpful chaps on the Combined Army section of the Discord for Infinity. So this list has in it a few extra pieces. That list will be in the description as a code if you want to examine it in more depth. So first of all, we've got the Suryat. Now, again, before I continue, the Morats are getting quite a lot of resculpts. So the models you see here may or may not be the same ones you see in a year's time, assuming, of course, this video survives that long. So the Suryats are absolute tanks. First of all, they have strong armour, armour 4 with 2 wounds. They're immune to AP. So the armour 4 is probably a little low for some heavy infantry, but immune to AP means they just can walk through some gunfights that others couldn't. And they're armed with a whole variety of horrible weapons. The Suryat here is armed with a heavy rocket launcher and a MSV-1. So he is going to be able to sort of be in the fire team and lob rockets towards areas and use the templates to try and catch more than one person underneath them and, of course, ignore cover. Looking at next, I've got the Icadron Bat Droids. They are really good pieces. First of all, they are super cheap. Okay, it's 9 points for an order is always nice, being some of the cheapest orders you can get in Morats. And they're armed with a flamethrower +1 burst. So they can, if you want to, move up with their pretty good speed of 6'2" and scorch an area of targets. Alternatively, of course, they could be in your back line giving orders and have a good defensive weapon if we get too close to them. Also, they have repeater, so you can hack with them using your killer hackers and your normal hackers. Bear in mind that in this list, both hackers have Trinity. So you have quite a lot of killer hacking going around. So they can support your line quite a lot. And finally, we have the Dotarazi. Now, the Dotarazi, as I put here, their artwork's changed recently. So chances are their models are changing as well. So the Dotarazi models we have currently are probably not going to be the ones we have for very long. And they are superb troops. They're a warband. They are 14 points for the train rifle +1 burst version, which is probably the version I'd use. And they have smoke. Again, high physique for throwing smoke is great. They have smokes within 8 inches on a 17, which is superb. So they've got martial arts level 4 and berserk. So they're going to get into melee with someone if they're in range, because they're able to use berserk to make it a normal roll. So they will hit whoever they go into. You've got CC 23 and martial arts level 4. So they're rolling on a 27, meaning they crit on a 13 with their double action CC attack. Okay? Physique 14, making it a damage 17 roll. They're gonna hurt a lot whoever they hit, and they're fairly cheap, so you don't care too much about how they do with that. So they are going to be up at the front very early game and put some fear into your enemy. Again, 14 points is pretty good. I mean, it's more expensive than some warbands and other armies, but for Morats, it's not a bad price at all. Also, that mimetism will help an awful lot with some incidental rolls, although because they can't take cover and all that, the chances are they're going to be mainly relying on their smoke to really defend them. Now, as I mentioned to you a minute ago, there's quite a few releases coming out for them, so some of the sculpts for the expansion to 300 points may change, and here's the release date for them. So the Tarlock pack at the bottom there is being released this month, and later on we're having the other ones coming out. So Morats are getting a lot of new sculpts. I really like the new models for them. I think they look lovely, and so it's quite an exciting time to be a Morat player and to smash face. So there we are. Hopefully you enjoyed this Morat video. I'm probably not going to do any action-packed videos for a while because no one seems to watch them. So I'm going to do some other videos later on about something to do with Infinity probably. I mean, it's pretty good as a game turns out. So thank you for watching, and I will see you all later. Oh, hopefully the extra style suited you. I used live PowerPoints to show the video to you rather than recording my audio separately to save time, really. It meant that the video was faster to make, but it also meant I had to recut it and stutter over it like the fool I am. So hopefully it didn't affect your viewing quality too much. If not, and if it did affect it too much, why not throw something at your screen, and I'll feel that, and I won't do it next time round. Okay, so I'm going to go, so I'll unplug my microphone.
Hello.